This is a great find. This table has a sturdy wood top and a cute little metal base. So I thought I'd do a quick transformation, show you guys and walk you through the steps. So I basically sanded it, cleaned it, and gonna add a coat of paint. So I always like to scuff sand my surfaces before I add paint. That just ensures me that the surface is free of grease, oils, and I did wash it first too. So I am putting on a chalk paint. Now you can use your chalk paint of choice. I actually was using Dixie Belle Savannah Mist. Chalk paint is a super durable paint that we use to paint furniture with. It's the best stuff to use. It doesn't chip, it doesn't come off, and it's super durable, and it just has the coolest finish. It actually dries with a matte surface tone, so that way it's not super shiny, which really isn't what's in style anymore. So we put that on, we let it dry. It literally takes like 10 minutes for it to dry. The first coat should always be a little streaky, then you go ahead and add the second coat. And let me tell you, it takes hardly any paint to do this. The thing about using a high quality chalk or clay-based paint is that you will get good coverage and really good adherence. So go ahead, spend the money, use the chalk, use the clay paint. And if you'd like to order any, I do sell them here on my online site, which I will go ahead and add at the end of the video. So I'm going to go ahead and take a piece of 220 sandpaper, and what that's going to do is smooth out my finish. Chalk-based paint is kind of porous, so it does give you a little bit of a bumpy finish. If you just take a piece of 220 sandpaper, rub it over the top, guess what? It is smooth as silk. It leaves you the beautiful finish and allows anything to be adhered on top, say a transfer or waxes or top coats. So I'm just going to run over and do that, and I'm going to distress it a little bit here, a little bit there. I pulled out an old transfer that I had. This is a transfer that's actually discontinued. It's not even, I don't know if it's still available. But anyhow, it was called Sun-Kissed. It may still be available, but it's an old transfer I have. And I had used part of it on another project, and now this is just the remaining little pieces of it. What I like to do when I have transfers is go ahead and I save every little piece of it. That way I can use it on a future project. So I go ahead and I rip off the back paper, and I kind of try to figure out where I want to place it. I'm using a transfer tool, which I absolutely love because it's easier for me to adhere my transfers with a transfer tool. All transfers come with a stick, and I always break that darn thing. So I go ahead, and this is a redesign with Prima transfer tool, and the transfer itself, which is called Sun-Kissed, it's also a redesign with Prima transfer. So you might be able to find one of these. I don't know if they're still available. I don't have any in stock at the moment, but I will look and maybe get some for you guys. It's a really fun transfer. It kind of has a gold outline, and then so just be sure when you're rubbing transfers that you rub really, really well. And as you pull the backing sheet away, what I like to do is rub in front of where I'm pulling. If for any reason the transfer sticks still to the plastic backing sheet, lay it back down and keep rubbing. It will, do not ever rip off a transfer like a Band-Aid. Now, this is called a burnishing pad or a finishing pad. What this does is all the transfers have a little halo around them. Now, all the flowers have like a little halo that's hard to see on video, but it's a clear little thing, and it's just, like I said, like a little halo. What you like to do is after you lay down that transfer is you want to burnish it in, meaning you really want the edges of that transfer to stick. If you do not burnish it, you will have issues. I've heard lots of complaints in online forums about transfers peeling up after a top coat is applied. I can almost guarantee that 9 out of 10 people that have this happen is because they did not burnish their transfer after they applied it. So a lot of times it's user error. So I have done hundreds and hundreds of transfers, and knock on wood, I have never ever had one roll or peel up, because what will happen if you don't burnish, those halo edges of your transfer is in 2 or 3 weeks after you apply a top coat, a lot of times it'll just peel right up. It's really funny, and that's not funny at all, actually. It's really frustrating is the proper word to use. And you just want to make sure that you actually rub it so that it sticks and it is adhered, because if any moisture gets underneath the rim of that transfer, guess what? That's when it rolls. And it may not happen immediately. So after I lay down a transfer, I automatically burnish the whole entire thing. This is not a Scotch-Brite pad. This is actually something that I do retail. It's called a finishing pad. And I do have them on my website. It will help so much. It actually comes in twice the size of this one that I'm using. I cut it in half. That way I have two, because you know I'll always lose one. So you can layer transfers on top of each other, like I'm trying to line this one up, because I thought, well, it just needs a little more pizzazz, right? You can put one on top of the other. Where the transfer lays on top of the original transfer, you just have to rub a little bit harder, a little more elbow grease in that area. Transfers don't like to stick to each other as much as they like to stick to that fresh paint. So just make sure that you're rubbing really well. Now on the edge here, I'm going over this edge. I like to put a little bit of cuts in it, so that way when I roll over, the plastic is a little more forgiving. So get that transfer tool, get it down into that little nook and cranny, and just work it down. It's really easy to go over edges, lips, anything with a transfer. You've just got to take your time and just get that tool to really work, and your transfer will adhere beautifully. So just working it in the tool, so then when I pull it up, it's going to be really nice and come up really, really easily. So remember, transfers are not Band-Aids. We need to peel them gently to make sure that all of the transfer has detached from the plastic and stays onto the item that you are transferring it to. They're very easy to work with. Remember, transfers don't stick to wax, so you cannot apply transfer over something you have already waxed. You have to apply it either over a coat of chalk paint or say a top coat such as the polyacrylic, but do not ever put it over anything that has an oil base, a wax, an oil-based stain, anything like that. Do you see how well it worked on that lip right there? Burnish. I burnish automatically so that way I don't forget, because the one time I do forget, guess what's going to happen? My transfer is going to roll. And boy, oh boy, we don't want to do that. So now I'm going to put a top coat on. I have grabbed a blue sponge, which I do retail these too. This isn't a really awesome tool to use to put your top coats on. It will give you a streak-free finish. I like to get my blue sponge a little bit damp, so I just get it under the sink, wring out the water. My top coat of choice is 1 Hour Enamels Clear from Wise Owl. This stuff is absolutely fabulous. I put 2-3 coats on the top of this piece because this is a tabletop. I'm wanting to seal it from any kind of damage from a, like a soda can or a ring from a what you call a glass. So thin coats. See how I just keep going level, a little bit of product. It doesn't need to be thick. This will dry in a matte finish. It does come in matte, satin, and a high gloss. I prefer matte. That is my own personal preference. So this is going to dry. It only takes about 10 minutes in between coats. You don't need to overwork it. Just add a little more product. Do those edges. Just be sure you don't drip. And let it dry in between coats. I literally do probably a coat every 10 minutes. I think I did 3 or 4 coats on this one. And it is immediately ready to use. It's amazing stuff. Now here it is. Ta-da! It's all done. What do you think? This was such an easy, fun project with a super inexpensive table that could be added to your sunroom, your patio, your living room, your entryway. Isn't it absolutely flippin' cute? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Remember, you can buy all the products on my website.